66 million years ago, a day began like any other in the late Cretaceous period. Dinosaurs roamed a lush, subtropical world. A Tyrannosaurus rex might have been hunting, a herd of Triceratops grazing peacefully. But high above, an unstoppable force was approaching. An asteroid, at least 6 miles wide, was hurtling toward Earth at an unimaginable speed. This wasn't just a rock, it was a planet killer carrying the energy of billions of atomic bombs. Its destination, the shallow seas of what we now call the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. The moment of impact was the beginning of the end. As the asteroid slammed into the planet, it vaporized instantly, along with a massive chunk of Earth's crust. The energy released was beyond comprehension. The first thing to happen in less than a second was an intense flash of light and heat, brighter and hotter than the sun. Any living thing with a direct line of sight to the impact zone would have been incinerated instantly. The sky itself seemed to catch fire. This initial thermal pulse was just the start. The impact created a crater over 100 miles wide and nearly 20 miles deep. It displaced an astronomical amount of rock and water, blasting it high into and even beyond the atmosphere. The shockwave that radiated from the impact point was apocalyptic. It traveled at supersonic speeds, flattening everything in its path for hundreds, then thousands of miles. Forests were turned to splinters in an instant. The sound would have been the loudest noise the Earth had ever experienced, a deafening roar that circled the globe multiple times. Simultaneously, the impact triggered mega earthquakes, shaking the entire planet. I'm not talking about a magnitude 9 or 10 on the Richter scale. Scientists estimate these quakes were at magnitude 11 or even higher, far more powerful than anything modern humans have ever recorded. These seismic waves rippled through the Earth's crust, triggering volcanic eruptions and landslides on a global scale. The very ground beneath the dinosaurs' feet became their enemy, buckling and tearing apart. For those near the coastlines, another horror was unfolding. The immense displacement of water from the impact generated a mega tsunami of biblical proportions. Initial waves near the impact site could have been a mile high. As this wall of water raced across the oceans at the speed of a jetliner, it scoured coastlines clean for thousands of miles. Evidence of this colossal wave can be found as far away as the inland United States. Imagine a wave so large it travels hundreds of miles inland, carrying with it a chaotic slurry of rock, sediment, and the remains of everything it destroyed. But perhaps the most insidious killer was what happened next in the sky. All that material blasted into the atmosphere pulverized rock, vaporized asteroid, and superheated soot from burning forests didn't just disappear. Trillions of tons of it were ejected high above the Earth. As this debris began to fall back down under the pull of gravity, it re-entered the atmosphere all over the globe. Each tiny particle, each glassy bead called a tektite, heated up like a miniature meteor. Within the first hour after impact, the sky worldwide began to glow a dull, terrifying red. It was heat. The atmosphere itself turned into a planetary scale convection oven. The radiant heat from this re-entering ejecta was so intense that it literally baked the surface of the Earth. Air temperatures on the ground would have skyrocketed to hundreds of degrees Fahrenheit. Any animal out in the open, unable to find shelter underground or in deep water, would have been cooked alive. This is likely the event that sealed the fate of most dinosaurs. They were simply too big to hide. The world was now a scene of utter devastation. The sky, once a brilliant red, was rapidly turning black. The sheer volume of soot and dust thrown into the atmosphere was starting to block out the sun. This wasn't just a cloudy day. It was the beginning of an impact winter. Within hours, the planet was plunged into a profound and lasting darkness. Photosynthesis would have stopped almost immediately, killing off most plant life and collapsing food chains from the bottom up. The air itself became toxic. The asteroid had struck a region rich in sulfur-bearing rocks. The impact vaporized these rocks, releasing immense quantities of sulfur into the atmosphere. This sulfur combined with water to form sulfuric acid, which then fell back to Earth as a searing acid rain. This rain would have been potent enough to burn the skin of any surviving creatures and acidify the surfaces of oceans and lakes, killing off countless marine organisms. So, Let's recap the first hour. It begins with a blinding flash and an earth-shattering impact. This is followed by a supersonic shockwave that flattens landscapes, mega earthquakes that shake the whole planet, and a mile-high tsunami that obliterates coastlines. Then, the sky turns into a broiler, cooking the surface of the planet. And finally, the sun is blotted out, plunging the world into a dark, cold, acid-drenched nightmare. This wasn't a slow decline. It was a sudden, violent, and absolute cataclysm. It's in this hellscape that our story takes a surprising turn. While the great dinosaur were facing extinction, some creatures were surviving. Small mammals, our distant ancestors, were likely burrowed deep underground, insulated from the searing heat and the initial blast. Certain birds, crocodiles, turtles, and fish in protected aquatic environments also managed to weather the initial storm. They were small, adaptable, and didn't need much food. The Chicxulub impact was the single worst day in the history of life on Earth. It triggered a mass extinction that wiped out an estimated 75% of all species, including all non-alien dinosaurs, but it also cleared the slate. The end of the age of dinosaurs was the beginning of the age of mammals. In the darkness and chaos of that first hour, the seeds of our own world were sown. The tiny, terrified creatures hiding from the apocalypse would eventually emerge to inherit a new Earth, paving the way for the evolution of primates and, ultimately, us. The story of that day is a sobering reminder of the fragility of life, but also of its incredible resilience. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey back in time fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into our planet's incredible history. See you next time.